Okay, that's the signal. Great. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone, for joining us today. Just a quick housekeeping note, this session is being recorded in case you missed that alert, and we will be sending out the recording and some slides to you for future reference. Also, please do make note of the chat window and the Q&A section here in the Zoom room today. We've reserved a good 20 minutes for open Q&A and discussion, so we want to hear from you. We want to hear what kinds of questions you have about recruiting in Mexico. So do utilize those chat windows, introduce yourself, let us know how you're doing. We're going to start with some quick introductions. We've got two Jacquelines in the Zoom room today, myself and Jacqueline Bautista from FUNED, and we're joined by Spencer Hawks from BMI. So as for me, I'm Jacqueline Castine. I am the report author. For today's convenience, you can also just call me Jackie or Jackfruit. I'm based in the UK, but I'm originally from New Jersey. So we wrote the report, which this whole conversation today is going to be based on, which is our Mexico market report. Prior to that, we've also done some market reports for BMI on Vietnam and on China's tier 2 cities. We were talking about Wuhan even before COVID hit. So if you haven't seen those reports, do let us know. We can drop those links into the chat for you as well. Myself, I have a strong background in writing and in international education research from the days when I launched ISEF Monitor, which I launched and ran for 4.5 years. It's a great resource with industry news and market intelligence, so I'm kind of known as the Monitor Mama. But I left that and I started Jackfruit Marketing about 6.5 years ago, and I've been working with BMI almost as long as well, and it's an absolute pleasure. And what makes Jackfruit Marketing a little bit different is two main things. One, we work across different sectors from K through 12 to language schools, undergrad recruitment, postgrad recruitment, service providers like BMI, tech companies, youth travel, language exams, and so on. So that gives us a real different perspective when we help our clients with their marketing and their recruitment. And we also work in different countries, US, Canada, UK, France, and so on. So we really have a different way of looking at things. And we help you to build your marketing and your recruitment strategies, and we help you to execute those strategies as well. Now, for clients, we do a lot of content writing for many audiences, for students, for parents, for partners like counselors and agents, and across many channels, emails, websites. We've built quite a few from scratch, brochures, ad campaigns, you name it. And we also do a lot of training, both in person and online as well. That's enough for me. I'll turn the mic over to Spencer from BMI to tell you a little bit more about himself.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Hello, everybody. I'm Spencer from BMI, and I have been working in international education, international student recruitment and media events since I was in my 20s. I think it's about 35 years now. Oh my gosh. I know I look a lot younger. But here at BMI, we organize over 80 different international student recruitment events around the world, both in person and virtually. Obviously, we've come through COVID and we're delighted to be back in person. And we have a long history of being able to match educational institutions with students, with parents, with high school counselors, with agents, with scholarship organizations. So we are based here in the UK. I'm a Londoner, but our events take place all over the world, and it's not unusual to have a BMI event taking place in Abu Dhabi, in Hanoi, and in Sao Paulo on the same weekend of the same month. So we're out there, we're everywhere, and we're very, very glad that you're joining us here today to talk about Mexico. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Jacqueline Bautista to introduce herself. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Bautista. I work as an institutional director here at FUNED. We are a private operating foundation that gives financial aid and scholarships to high potential Mexicans that want to go study abroad their master's degree. FUNED has been operating since 1993, but I'm very new to FUNED. I am a scholar of FUNED. I went to do my master's degree with FUNED back in 2015. And prior to that, I studied international business. And then I went and worked a little bit in the pharmaceutical company, then went to do my master's degree, my MBA. And then I came back and started working in a nonprofit organization. And now I'm here at FUNED. So thank you very much, Jackie and Spencer, for inviting FUNED. I hope that we can give you some very good insights about the Mexican market, what we've seen, what we are seeing now after the COVID. And so thank you very much. And I think that we can go and get started.
Great, excellent. Well, we've got a poll here for you, which we're going to set live because we want to know a little bit more about you as well. Who's joined us in the Zoom room today? We've got a good number that have joined, I'm sure, from all corners. So if we could launch that poll, that would be great. And we'll get a sense of what your experience has been like in the market so far in Mexico. Are you new to the market? Is your institution new as well? Maybe the institution has been recruiting there for a while, but you are personally new. If we can launch that poll, we've got a little secret helper, Andrea over there, who looks like Viva Mundo on your screen, perhaps, but she's kind of our secret wizard behind the screen. There she goes. So do us a favor and answer, let us know a bit about your experience so far in Mexico. And if you've answered the poll, don't forget to add some questions into that chat window or use the Q&A as well. If you've already got some burning questions, we'll pop the report link into the chat as well. I've got that handy here. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have seen the report in full. Maybe you haven't had a chance to dig into it too much. Today, the idea today is not to, there we go, there's a link just as a handy reference as we get started. So our idea is not to talk you through the report. You've got that, so you can look at that and in your own time. We want to talk to you about what's not in the report, actually. So if you've got specific questions, you can always refer through there. How are we doing on the poll results?
Yes, so we have 21 responses so far. So we are in early stages, 53%. My institution has been actively recruiting, 28%. And I am pretty familiar with the market, 20%.
It looks like we have a good mix as well in the audience too, which is excellent. Okay, and I'm seeing some questions coming through already, which is excellent. Great. So as I said, we're gonna make this a bit more interactive for you as we go along. So we've got the link there in the chat. For the next hour, we want to talk to you about what's not in the report. We want to unpack the data a little bit in a more qualitative way. So you're going to hear from each of us on some highlights about what's most important to consider when entering the market or when building up a brand presence there. And we've got time for questions and answers as well. So I'll kick off. At Jackfruit Marketing, as I mentioned, we work with institutions around the world, recruiting from different countries around the world. And we help people in two core areas. One is the strategy, and the second, of course, is executing that strategy. So when it comes to recruiting in Mexico, from a strategic point of view, does it make sense for your institution? That's the first question to ask. And 9 times out of 10, that answer is yes. And the report gives you all the evidence to support that argument. You've got the population growth, the GDP growth, the rising middle class, a strong upper class, and strong caliber of students at private international schools. That's all there for you. Now, from a macro point of view, how could you not pay attention to Mexico? It's one of the easiest, most open countries with warm and friendly people, with lively students and huge potential. And so far, more stable than some of our other key markets that we might be more used to, like China, Russia. We won't even go into it. So diversification, of course, it's not just a nice Noah's Ark kind of strategy to have. This is actually part of your overall institution's risk strategy to diversify your markets and your risk, because as we've seen over decades of recruitment history, and even more so in the last 5 years, markets can dry up almost overnight. Markets can evaporate slowly over time and bleed until dry. So don't let that happen. Invest in solid markets with strong potential. And Mexico is clearly one of them. So that's the strategy or the argument of should we or why should we be there. Next is the magical how. And as the report shows, when hunting for students in Mexico, keep in mind that the most populous states might not also be the states with the highest affordability. So your entry strategy and your messaging needs to adapt accordingly. Hence, the report shows you your school enrollments by state for all levels, from preschool up to and including higher education. And, grand picture, considering that almost 5 million kids graduate from upper secondary school each year, and only around 35,000 of them go abroad, you can clearly see that there's huge potential for more Mexicans to start heading overseas. So you can use our data to find the states with decent population numbers, with a high GDP per capita, and a good number of private international schools. We've noted the split of upper and middle class in that finance section on pages 32 and 33 for you. But as you're building your market entry and approach, keep in mind that you are inviting students to enter your world, whether that's in Boise or Brisbane. So get to know the world that they're coming from. First, find out as soon as you possibly can, where is your prospect's head at? What other countries are they looking at, and why are they looking at those countries? We know students explore options in 2, 3, even 5 or 6 countries. So they're casting a very wide net. And with so much uncertainty today around visas and travel, they're also hedging their bets. Wouldn't you? So if you've got strong acceptance rates at your school and strong visa approval rates for Mexicans, show them that along the student journey. Give them that reassurance as well. Okay, so we want to give them some reassurance about how likely are they to get accepted into your institution and into your country as well, because students are very practical. They need to know where they can physically get in as well. Now, in doing so, you want to also sell your full destination, not just your institution. You're being judged against institutions halfway around the world, not just in your country or in your region or your state. So sell the whole story. Sell the full brand experience of what you offer, not just a ranking or even an individual program, although that is important, and I'll come back to that in a second. So let's imagine you know that students are looking at Australia and you're an Irish institution. Then show them the different lifestyle that they're going to have with you and explain your advantages to them. And remember that it isn't enough to simply say things like, we're a small college where every student gets individual attention and support. Yes, that's great, but every institution says that, the big ones and the small ones. And for all you know, this student might come from a huge megacity like Mexico City, and they might feel bored out of their minds if they're on a small town campus. However, on the flip side, you might have a prospect who grew up in this metropolis and wants to go to university in a quieter place where they can easily get around quickly, they can smell the fresh air and not feel caught up in the rat race of urban environments. Both types of prospects exist in Mexico City, in many cities around the world, in fact. So consider your starting point. Where is the student coming from? What environment are they used to? And what environment are they looking for? Now that goes for location, but also for school type as well. Are they at the top of their class and they need to be challenged? Or are they maybe more of an average student at an average school and maybe they need some extra language support or tutoring support? So the answers to these questions will tell you how to present this information differently and at different stages when you're recruiting at different international schools or when you're beginning a conversation with them in the virtual or the physical world. My second tip is to keep in mind that you have different types of prospects. You've got upper class students from international schools who will speak 2 to 3 languages. They're going to be familiar with American culture, for example. They've probably traveled before. You might not need to sell them on the idea of studying abroad or studying in your country or the quality of education you offer. They might, and probably do already know that. They might have a relative living in your country, for example, but also from some of the surveys, and we alluded to some of those in the report, but from the surveys that we've done with students attending BMI fairs, we see many, if not all of them, are hyper aware of the education on offer for them in Mexico at home, and they're attending fairs, they're searching online because they want something better somewhere else. They know you've got something better, so you don't necessarily always need to convince them of that. Instead, you might need to start with that overall experience. What is it truly like to study and live at your institution and in your city or town? And that type of student from an international school is going to be very different than a postgrad student, perhaps a FUNED student, who is more mature and more clear about their career choices. And that's again going to be very different from a student from a middle or maybe a lower class that needs to work part-time during their studies. Maybe they need to get some funding, a loan or scholarships, and they've got this big dream of studying abroad. They're going to work hard and do whatever it takes to achieve it wherever it goes, wherever that dream takes them. So consider how your marketing content, your messaging, and your approach is changing depending on the type of person that you're talking to, whether virtual or in the real world. My third tip is what's pushing them to seek an education abroad. Which programs are they interested in, and most importantly, why? You want to customize that recruitment experience for them. So consider, for example, the different regions in Mexico, which we highlight. So you can align your degrees with career paths, looking at the long-term growth in Mexico, especially looking at the state that that person is from. Are there more jobs in manufacturing, infrastructure, engineering, services, tech, tourism, hospitality, healthcare? Look at the big employers in the States. And in the short term, you can also show prospects how they can get work experience and internships in this crucial sector abroad, even before they graduate, and then bring that knowledge back home. So we're talking about a more targeted, a more specific, and a more sophisticated recruitment approach. Don't try to be everything to everyone or sell all your programs when you're going into the market. Focus on the ones that have a link to what Mexicans need and what they want. And don't forget about lifelong learning for new skills, English language skills, all that other stuff as well. But fourth and finally, use social media more than anything. That's where they do their research. Ensure that you're inviting students into your funnel, into the process with you, and into a dialogue with you, not just sending things out in a one-way fashion. Now, with Facebook, for example, you don't necessarily need a Facebook page for every country out there. Oops, just going to close that poll again that popped up. So you don't necessarily need to have a Facebook page in every country or for your, but you do maybe want to have a Facebook page for your priority countries or for your priority regions. So it's worth considering that, especially in this case, where as the data shows, Mexicans are hyperactive on Facebook, and it's also a great channel to reach parents. And this is a very family-oriented market that we're dealing with. So you could explore, for example, a Latin American Facebook page as opposed to just one for Mexico. And this can then extend your efforts to all Spanish-speaking countries, and you can get more impact for your efforts. You can rotate amongst various countries to celebrate the diversity in Latin America, student stories, events in different countries, virtual, physical, virtual open days, live chats, and so on. And of course, use Facebook to run sponsored ads and posts with clear call to actions, not just general branding. Use this for event signups, for example, or a super interesting story with a really good headline and a hook. Now, lastly, the report also highlights the importance of podcasts, which is a hugely underutilized channel, in my opinion. Now, if you don't have the bandwidth to run one yourself, you can make guest appearances on popular podcasts in Mexico that have content that align with your brand values and your core messaging. So maybe you have some Spanish-speaking faculty who could appear as a guest speaker on a topic related to the program, or maybe some groundbreaking research that will have a clear direct impact on the lives or the livelihoods of Mexicans. Maybe you have some Spanish-speaking student ambassadors who can get involved, particularly those who are studying journalism, for example. Or, you know what, you don't even need Spanish. Do some research and find some popular English-speaking podcasts that bilingual upper-class households are listening to on parenting, on helping teens choose career paths, on helping kids with mental issues, or balancing academics and stress, or financing tips for university life or for preparing for a career and being an independent adult, and so on. Okay, so that's it for me now. And due to COVID, my voice is going. So the time is right for me to launch another poll now to find out how you're planning to recruit in Mexico this year and next year into the future. And then we're going to turn the mic over to Spencer. So if we can, there we go, launch the second poll to see what plans have you got ahead for recruiting in Mexico. Great. We got a few people adding some notes to the chat and to the Q&A as well. Do feel free to put in your questions. We want to hear from you. And when we've got enough results from that poll, then we'll go ahead and share the results. So we've got our wizard in the sky to share the results with us as well. The magic of Zoom.
So, here I am again. So we have 57 answers so far. So for our question, are you planning to host or attend an in-person recruitment event in Mexico? So yes, in 2022, 52%, no, 15%, yes, in 2023, 43%, not in 2023, 2%, and I'm not sure, 15%.
Okay, great. Nice to see some good dedication and interest in heading into Mexico physically, which is so important. We've got to have good multi-channel approaches in marketing. I'll turn the mic over now to Spencer Hawks from BMI. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jackie. There's some marvelous insights in there. So really enjoyed listening to that. And also great to see this poll as well. So yes, in 22, 52% of people attending there. That's absolutely fantastic. And again, next year as well. So really encouraging figures there. So thank you very much for handing the mic over to me. And what I would like to talk about now is Mexican students at study abroad events, so both in person and online. So Mexico was one of the first countries in which BMI recommenced in-person events in October 2021. Seems like such a long time ago now. Mexico was chosen due to demand from students, but also that we could actually run a public exhibition there when so many other countries were yet to emerge from COVID-related restrictions. Now, when I attended our Mexican in-person fairs, what struck me was the determination of the Mexican students to actually attend the events, considering that at that point, face masks, body temperature controls, proof of vaccination were all required at that stage. I was delighted that so many thousands of students were ready and able to comply. I mean, these are, after all, teenagers, and as a father of 3 teenagers, I can testify just as to how disorganized teens can be. Not this bunch, of course. They were also looking at postgraduate studies, so not all disorganized teens like mine, but all of them were serious in their endeavors. They were well prepared and had lists of institutions they wanted to talk to. They were asking the right questions, and they were financially able. As one exhibitor with rather high tuition fees said to me, I was telling them our prices and they weren't even blinking. So, as Jackie said, the report shows that the states with the highest GDP per capita in the north, as well as in the capital of Mexico City, and those in the Yucatan Peninsula. Our events take place in Mexico City, Guadalajara and Monterrey, which have high concentrations of wealth. And this was made very evident to me when I was outside the venue for our Monterrey event, and I could see parents arriving with their kids to visit the fair in a selection of extremely expensive SUVs, including brand new Mercedes, BMWs, Range Rovers. It illustrated to me just how important it is to choose your regional markets carefully and not just to focus on capital cities. Now, our report shows us that 64% of upper-class households send their kids to private schools. And this has created a large group of sophisticated consumers that want to talk to you about what your institution offers. And how you communicate with them really matters. We know that Generation Z are a demanding bunch in terms of information. They're used to accessing information instantly, and they're not too bothered if that information is delivered automatically, but it needs to be accurate and fast. And as Jackie and the report indicate, we've seen that social media, Facebook in particular, is popular in Mexico, and setting up a page dedicated to prospective Mexican students is a great idea. Make sure it's very well monitored and has plenty of fresh, relevant content. So over the past 3 years, this Mexican student cohort has endured and occasionally enjoyed an online education like no other, one in which virtual interaction had become the norm. So it's therefore perfectly natural that these students are now embracing in-person interaction in all of its forms, including attending study abroad fairs and also meeting foreign university reps when they visit their schools, their international schools, their private schools. And many of these students have got older siblings who have studied abroad, and so finally being able to travel themselves is of massive importance to them. Another side effect of COVID is the increased attention by parents on where their children are studying abroad. Parents want to know, how did your institution look after ex-Mexican students during COVID? It's no surprise then that these parents are turning up at BMI events in greater numbers than ever before. And this is something that never ceases to amaze me, sometimes they're attending without their kids. I spoke to a very nice parent at our event in Mexico City in February who had come along on his own to find out about a law degree for his daughter. He was a lawyer himself, and so probably well qualified in his opinion. But what impressed me was his passion for international education. His daughter was going to study abroad. He just wasn't sure where yet. So bear that in mind with your Facebook page, your Mexican Facebook page. There are going to be plenty of parents looking at offering, be it on your socials or on your website. So tailor them accordingly. Now, don't let my passion for in-person events make you think that virtual recruitment events are over. Far from it, in fact. Mexican students have embraced communication technology and are active participants in virtual events. I'm sure some of you will know that BMI runs an extremely successful virtual event called FUNED Connect Live, which is held once a year in conjunction with our friends at FUNED, thank you, Jacqueline, who invite prospective students for their funding program to attend this virtual event. The last edition attracted 2,276 students who between them chatted with prospective universities for a total of 172 hours. Now, for Mexico, virtual events are very much alive, and they allow students access even if they happen to be outside of the main cities. In fact, 45% of the visitors to FUNED Connect Live come from outside the cities in which BMI runs in-person events in Mexico. Now, attendees to both virtual events and in-person events follow similar courses of interest, with business and management, engineering, and marketing being most popular. But interestingly, our in-person events attract 40% more students interested in pursuing the arts than those attending FUNED Connect Live. Could this suggest that by their nature, wealthier cities contain more potential students for the arts? Possibly so, although this may be a question for a social economist to answer and not I. So the next edition of FUNED Connect Live will be held in March 2023 on BMI's market-leading Talk Global Study platform, and spaces are limited to 60 virtual booths. So please contact us if you need more information about this great FUNED recruitment event. So to recap, my 3 tips when considering recruiting in Mexico are, and the first one may not surprise you, but jump on a plane and go there. You have been missed. They want to see you. They want to see you face to face. And remember that parents will want to see you as much as those students as well. Secondly, use your social media and websites to be your passive Mexican recruiter and target content at parents as well as students. Thirdly, use virtual events to target students who are outside of the bigger cities who were simply busy when you were in town. Follow up on all communication as swiftly as you can. Mexican students, as Jackie said earlier on, Mexican students are being targeted by institutions from all over the world. And so you need to make sure that you make your meaningful contact as early as possible. So thank you very much for listening. I'd now like to hand over to a real expert in the market who's in Mexico, Jacqueline Bautista.
Hi, everyone. Hi again. So as I was saying, FUNED, we are a private institution, foundation, and we want our high potential Mexican students to go and study abroad. So we give them financial aid and scholarship to fulfill their dreams. So in the first slide, as we can see, in 2020, we had 295 students that went to study abroad and 215 in 2021. So our the main countries that our students are going to study are UK, USA, Canada, Spain, and Germany. So Germany may actually be, we have a lot of rising countries that our students are going and looking into. Why? Because as Jackie and Spencer were saying, Mexico is a potential growing market for students to go and study abroad. What they are looking for is to have more scholarships, more financial aid, and lower fees. So in FUNED, we're looking to make alliances with a lot of partner universities so that they can give more scholarships to our students, so that they can go and fund their studies abroad. So can we pass to the next slide, please? So we've seen some changes in scholarships in the last few years. Why? We all know that it's because of COVID, but also here in Mexico, we had we were working with the National Council of Sciences and Technology, which was our main partner for many, many years. So this council was founded and was providing financial aid and scholarships to a lot of different areas of study. But now the government cut that help, and now since 2 years, they are only giving scholarships to students studying master's degrees in health and sciences. So that's why, because of COVID and also because of this government change, we have seen an huge impact in the number of students that go and study abroad. Because with this, the name of this national council is CONACYT, and this CONACYT was giving a lot of financial aid. I mean, I went with this financial aid myself to study abroad, and that meant that I did not have to ask for a lot of money and a lot of financial aid when I went to study abroad. So now that these resources has been cut by the government, we've seen that the students can know it's not that easy for them to go. But still, we can see that United States, UK, Spain, and France are the top 4 countries that our students go and search to go and do their master's degree. Okay, so what are the tendencies in this year? So this year, we are halfway through the year, so some of our students are going in autumn to study abroad, and we've seen that they are going to United States, as I mentioned, UK, Spain, but they are also looking, as you can see here, for the Netherlands, which is a country that we do not speak the language. It's a non-common language, but then, as I was mentioned, a lot of our students are looking for places, for easy places that they can go, they can have their visa, and also they have a chance to work, so that they can pay for their tuitions, they can pay for their living, and not only go and study. So these are the tendencies that we're looking in 2022. So they are looking for places where they can work and also that they can study. And some of our students are also they're used to that. In Mexico City, in private and public universities, it's common that we study and that we work since the beginning of our careers. I did that I went to a private institution, to a private university, but I started working in my fourth semester. Some of us, we work because we need to, or because we need that experience for when we go out and finish our studies and to go and do a master's degree. Can we turn to the next one? So the main areas of study here in Mexico City, our top three, I would say our students are looking to go with engineering, with fundamental sciences, social sciences, and health sciences. These are the main areas of study when they are going and looking into programs to the universities. And last, I would like to talk about the leader development program that we have here in FUNED. So this leader development program, we've been creating these opportunities for low income students, but with huge potential. But they also need a huge financial aid to go and study abroad, and they are also missing in some specific things that they do not have, such as they don't have a very good English level, or they do not know how to go and to apply to university so that they can be admitted. So what we do is that we prepare them. We have this program and we prepare them so that they can go to a high rank master's degree abroad. So these leader development programs are the ones that are also looking for countries, as I was mentioned, that they can have higher scholarships, they can work, and so that they can pay their tuition and they can pay their living, and countries that they don't really matter if it's Germany and they don't speak German, because sometimes they just need like a basic level of German so that they can be admitted and they can go and study abroad. So I would say that we need to really pay attention at this leader development program to these middle to low income students with high potential, and that we can try to offer them good scholarships, but also good opportunities to go and study while they study their master's degree. And here in FUNED, I think that's where we are paying the most attention to, because this market it's growing. I think it represents like 60% of the total students market in Mexico, this to middle to low income students. So in FUNED, we are really looking to spot those high potential students and to send them to high rank universities across the globe. So I think that for me, this would be it. If you have any questions, as Jackie mentioned, please type them in so that we can answer them.
Great. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. And I've put our contact details up there on the screen for you as well. And we can pop those into the chat so you've got them at easy access too. And I've seen a few questions come in through our Q&A. We've also got the live chat running, so feel free to add. We've got a good 20 minutes to spend here with you today. So we do want to make this interactive for you. So if you've been shy, now is the time to be unshy. And so let us know, what are you really thinking? What kinds of questions do you really have? And I'll actually turn one of the first questions over to Jacqueline while we're on the subject of funding, because as you've seen from the report and from our conversations this morning, there is obviously a lower, a middle, and an upper class in Mexico, as you'll find in every country, right? But we know that funding organizations like CONOCYT, as our attendee has said, they are greatly missed. You know, those funding programs, we love them, right? From Brazil, from Saudi, and they have built fantastic student bodies around the world and fantastic graduates. So it is always challenging for both the students and for the institutions when that funding is cut. So what other kinds of options, let's say, might be out there, you know, in terms of what positive funding options we've been asked can Mexicans access beyond CONOCYT, beyond FUNED? Could you tell us a bit more, Jacqueline?
Yes, so There are also some, there's the Bank of Mexico that also gives financial aid to students. It's a loan that you pay over, I think, 10 years. So it's a low interest rate. So it's very appealing to our students, to all of them, because you can have a lot of financial aid there, and when you return and you start working, then you can pay for 10 years. So I think that the Bank of Mexico is one of them. I think it's the main one. There are also some private foundations like FUNED, where they can provide financial aid. And I don't know, I would say that we here in Mexico, we have a lot of, we have the Harvard Council, the huge universities, huge private universities across the globe. Sometimes they have here some councils, and they can also help students find the financial aid or the scholarships that they are looking for.
Excellent. Nice. Spencer, you want to jump in and just mention the Scholarship Summit as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We organise in-person events, but we also organise scholarship summits, and these take place here in the UK, in London, in May. And what we do is that we fly in scholarship and funding organisations from all over the world, and we've been delighted to welcome FUNED there into London. This is something that we also run in the Middle East. We're running this in Abu Dhabi in October for scholarship and funding organizations from the Gulf, and we're doing this in October in Colombia as well as Bogota. So if you're interested in reaching these scholarship bodies, then it's possible to participate in a BMI Scholarship Summit. Everybody goes to a big hotel ballroom, and it's speed dating. You have all of these scholarship organizations that sit there, and then every half an hour a bell is rung, and the universities go up and have another meeting with them. Now, of course, these meetings can be the beginning of an incredibly productive relationship, and with important organizations such as FUNED there, they do open the door to a wide range of funding. Of course, if you're interested in any of this, feel free to contact us. And I'm also going to jump on another question, if I may, Jackie, whilst I'm here. One of our delightful attendees was asking about, as a private institution, does it make sense to attend general fairs in cities such as Mexico City, or was it a better option to visit private high schools and directly target those who could probably afford going to a private institution abroad? I think it's a great question. I think there's absolutely no doubt that attending directly to the private schools is going to give you a very good relationship with that high school counsellor, and they will be cascading that information down to their students, hopefully. The difference between an event such as ours, where we run an in-person event as a general exhibition, is you suddenly have attendees from all of those different private schools attending, and the ones who are the keenest to study abroad, as they've demonstrated by their behavior in getting up and attending a show. So I think that I would probably look to generate some relationships with a number of key aligned private schools, but also bear in mind that you're not physically going to have the time to be able to go around to all of them, particularly in a gargantuan city such as Mexico City, where sometimes it's better that the mountain comes to Mohammed, so to speak. So a little bit of both, I think, would be good there on that particular question.
Yeah. Can I just say something?
Yeah,
just to add to what Spencer was saying. Yes, absolutely. I would say that going and visit two private schools, it would give you an advantage. I would in Mexico, we have this the private institutions, they have they are in Mexico City, but also they have their affiliates in the major cities in all Mexico. So I would say this would give you a very good advantage. And as for me, as my example, I was looking in universities in UK when I was going to study abroad in UK and some in Madrid. But then I went and speak to my counselor in the university, and then he provided me with a list of different universities. So I think that this is very important because I choose one that my counselor was telling me. I didn't spot it at first when I was doing my research, but then because they have this relationship, I was able to get to know the university that I went to study, and I think that this is a very good chance to get to know the university.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in with one final note is that, keep in mind that high school counselors everywhere are flooded with their own normal work, but also with lots of great institutions that all are naturally hungry to get their attention and to get in front of their students. So don't be surprised if you get ignored. And if this is a tough avenue to go down, you need to make your brand stand out. You need to do something a little bit different for them as well to make them want to actually hear what you have to say. So that's one of the things that we work on with clients is to make yourself and your institution stand out with those counselors. Just like a busy student, counselors are juggling a million things. So you maybe only have 5 seconds to catch their attention as well. What do you want them to know about your institution? Choose 1 or 2 key things and start there. Don't try to flood them with your tens of thousands of great programs. We know they're great. They do too. So find strategic ways to work with these partners as well. So we've got like 10 more questions. So let's see what else we can get through very quickly. We also have some questions about the secondary school market as well. Some people are asking, are secondary students also attending the events? They are, and Spencer can talk about that. We've got someone else that's saying that they're interested in the high school market. Grades 9 through 12, is that market existing in Mexico? Yes, it is. You can also check the SEVIS data, that's SEVIS, the SEVIS data, and I'll pop some of that into the chat for you. Also has some latest statistics on the K through 12 students. So there are actually quite a lot of Mexican students that are already at high schools in America, for example. So you can do some recruitment at home as well. Spencer, do you want to, while I look for that, you want to share some information about younger students?
Yes, absolutely. The FUNED Connect live events that we run are predominantly for postgraduate. I'll get that one out of the way. But in terms of our in-person, yes, we do attract an undergraduate market as well. In terms of secondary school students, the Mexican market is really very important. To give you an idea, there is a school here in the UK which teaches the American curriculum. They are a high school, and their biggest market is Mexican students coming over. So that is Mexican students traveling to the UK for a British education, for an American education. Who would have thought that? But that is actually the case. So I think that if I were targeting students, not the K levels, but in those higher years, there certainly is a market. I think that secondary schools who offer summer programs are going to be more successful because I think when we look at the Mexican and also Latin American parents, they're after enormous amounts of safety and security for their students. They like for their kids. They like them to go to places where they feel very confident, and thus, if their students or if their kids are available to go to a summer course first to familiarize themselves with that particular school, and then they can make the transition into being a full-time student earlier. So again, those summer schools can help recruit into the main secondary schools. Jackie? I finished on secondary schools.
Great. I was just popping a few things into the chat there. Okay. Great. We've got some questions here about students and families looking, controversial question, a good one to end on. Prioritizing going somewhere that's perceived to have less racism, less prejudice. In fact, I'll tie that in with a question related to Canada, because we've all are familiar with Canada's rising popularity. On a macro level, Canada, Australia, these countries have been pre-COVID wooing more students and doing very well. Borders are opening up. As long as those visa visas can come through, they will be, renewed interest back again. The US has had a controversial relationship. Even us here in the UK, we're familiar with that one as our prime minister is finally out the door. But all of those things, do politics, have a sway over students' opinions? Do currency fluctuations and perhaps, impeding inflation and rising costs, do those have? Yes, of course, these things will all influence, but to what degree will vary depending on that particular student, that particular family. Again, students who have family members or friends who are already studying abroad in a destination, if they already have family in California or Texas or New York or Illinois, then they know right away what kinds of political climate their friend or family might be dealing with. And sometimes, what you see on the news, as we know, is not necessarily what's felt every day on an institution. It's a very different kind of environment. But also maybe Jacqueline or Spencer, I'll turn it over to you to see if you have some comments to some of these more qualitative type of experiences that students are experiencing or thinking about when they're choosing their destination. Anything, quick thoughts? You guys are on mute.
Jacqueline, would you like to add to that one? You probably have a better viewpoint on that than I.
Yes. Well, as Jackie was saying, it depends really in every student that wants to go abroad, and not every very particular situation. But I do not feel that our students are afraid or anything about racism or anything. One thing that FUNED is proud is that our students are high potential Mexican students. So I think that this really, it's not a concern for us here.
Okay, good. We've got about 5 minutes, so I'm going to rapid fire through some other questions. We've had a couple questions come through about social media. We did highlight that. Someone was asking about the statistics around Facebook. We know in general, right, that Facebook is not as popular with young people as Instagram or TikTok. Yes, however, keep in mind those parents and check the report statistics for the Facebook results in Mexico, because you'll find a huge young cohort in Mexico. So don't assume that just because an American kid isn't on Facebook anymore, that every other kid in the world isn't on Facebook either. Zuckerberg's not letting go that easily. Plus, you've got, of course, Metaverse, you've got WhatsApp groups, extremely popular and powerful. So do check the statistics there. But another question came through about recommending Facebook, Instagram, or other media. And what kind of approach to use there. And this is also related to another question about, do we use agency recruitment? Do we do direct recruitment? And ultimately, of course, the answer, as you probably expect, is for any market, you want to have a rich mix of channels to choose from. We know that students have a lot of options. They're researching lots of options. The biggest decision in their life, the most money they're ever going to spend, they want to do a lot of research. So they're going to be asking friends and family, agents, high school counselors. They're going to look on YouTube. They're going to look on Instagram. They're going to see what you're doing. So, the more you can build up a strong presence and a consistent brand presence, a consistent story across those channels, so that the message you're putting out is the same and it sticks with them. Don't forget, they're going to be looking at 10, 20, maybe 50 different institutions when they first start out. They're not going to remember you. So you have to be memorable and consistent across those channels as well. And experiment. Marketing is all about experimentation. So try different things, see what works. As I mentioned, some sponsored ads and posts on Facebook can do wonders for you. Some really strong YouTube channels can be amazing for you. So experiment a bit, see what works, start dipping a toe in. I'll leave it to the others and see if we have time for maybe one or two more questions.
There's one question which I'd like to answer, if I may, and that's the subject of using agents. Where are students looking? Now, this is going to be a dreadful generalization, so forgive me, but generally the younger the students are, the more that the agents would be involved in that. With FUNED, we're looking at postgraduate students who are sophisticated. They generally have one or two extra languages, and they're capable of making decisions independently, but also based on the information which they're able to access. For undergraduate students, they might be more reliant on agents to get that information, but it's really when you get down to secondary education and you get to language learning where agents really do provide a useful service there. So if you're from a university that has a language program, then you probably want to put more emphasis on the agents. Of course, an agent will be paid substantial fees if they are able to place an undergraduate or postgraduate student. It does involve a lot of work for them, and sometimes sending groups is easier. In some markets, and Mexico is not that unusual from this, what we're seeing is groups of mega agents getting together. So you might have a series of agents that have offices in the major cities, and they represent a certain number of institutions, and you might be one of 200 institutions which they're representing. How much that agent is going to be able to talk with authority about your institution and your programs? Well, so I think that would be a mixture of as Jackie said, a mixture of multi-level marketing activities with agents part of that, dependent on what sort of students you're looking to recruit and what subjects they're going to be studying.
Excellent. Yeah. And again, just like with those high school counselors, making your institution stand out for your agency partners as well. Agents have a lot of institutional partners, and maybe take a look at your partner list. Sometimes we've talked to institutions that say, yeah, we've got, 200 agency partners signed up. Wow, that's a lot to manage. Maybe it's a chance for you to actually relook at how you approach agency partnerships in general as well, and perhaps trying a few countries to experiment and see where can you change the way you're working with agents. Okay, maybe I'm going to squeeze in one more final question about Spanish. And we've got a question, is Spanish a barrier for recruitment in Mexico or in Latin America as a whole? What if our school doesn't have staff that's comfortable or fluent in Spanish? Jacqueline, maybe you can give us some insight there.
Yes, what I would say, that's not a problem. I think that most of the students that are going to study abroad have basic or middle English fluency. So I would say that this is not a barrier. I think that Mexican population can quite understand English very well. So I would say if you are fluent in English, then everything will be good.
Great. And again, yeah, keep in mind, the further the education, the more likely they are to be bilingual. And of course, they're probably going to be studying in English at your institution as well. So might as well start practicing soon. Okay, we have unfortunately run out of time. So I want to say a huge thank you to our panel, to Spencer, to Jacqueline, and to Andrea there from BMI, known as Viva Mundo on your screen, for helping us out behind the scenes there. And a special thank you to all of you for taking the time to join us today and to share your questions and your experiences. We've placed our contact details in the chat there for you as well. And keep an eye on your email. You'll see a copy of the slides come through and a session recording. And, our kind of final top 3 tips, if I might summarize, is that, strong partnerships in Mexico with funding providers, with counselors, with agents, and an awareness of the market situation on the ground is going to be vital for you. A customized strategic approach towards marketing and recruitment is essential. And of course, a continued brand presence in the market, be that virtual and physical, and a rich mix of channels for a market that will grow in the long run. So it's that market dedication that will come through for the years to come that will help you to see these increased enrollments now and in the future. So keep an eye on your emails. As always, keep in touch with us via our contact information, and have a lovely rest of the week, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Take care.
Hasta la próxima.
Thank you.
Thank you.